Hello, hello. Welcome back to the channel. Um, I wanted to sort of give an update on where I was with Orilium so far, how I'm enjoying it. This is my first semester with the Magical Readathon or completing the Magical Readathon. Generally, I am really having a good time. I'm enjoying planning it and getting into the lore and doing all of the things that I normally love about readathons in general, plus sort of like the things that I normally enjoy about D&D, and sort of combining them together. It's been fun, but I think that I may have taken on a bit more than I should have. Not that I can, but that I should have, because I have a lot of other things that I probably have not spent as much time on as I likely should have done. This evening, I'll actually have to spend a bunch of time working on other projects and other things. Like I have some work emails that need to be done, even though it's a Sunday, and I need to do a deep clean of my house, or at least a cleaning session done. Um, because I'm going to be out of town this next weekend, and then I come back, and then I'm out of town for work later that week, and then I come back, and then I'm out of town again. Like, this is about to get into the time when I am traveling a ton for both work and for personal, and there's a lot. And so I feel like I likely should have maybe just done either one character or said, you know what, I'm going to jump right in and do the semester, and then I'll go back and do character creation when it comes to the actual reading of the books. But I'm having fun, so I'm not gonna take it too seriously, and I'll be like, you know what? Lesson learned. I will complete because I am a completionist, and hopefully some of those airline times that I'm gonna be going on words, I'll be able to get caught up on some things that I probably should have spent more time on. So let's jump right in. We're looking at Elynis. I did mention I have two characters. We haven't actually introduced the second character. So I think what I'll end up doing is going through all the things Elynis and then doing a second video for Kira, who is my second character, sort of to introduce her and where we're at so far all in one, because we can skip through a couple of things because we've already sort of introduced Elynis and talked about her. So we won't have quite as much to go through as we will for Kira. Anyway, so let's go ahead and jump right on in. Character creation, we've already sort of talked about Elynis, and I'm enjoying seeing how in my mind she is becoming more developed and more fleshed out as we go through the different types of challenges and things that you'll see throughout. But I'm enjoying it a lot, and I keep saying that, but I am enjoying it because I'm sort of coming into creating these characters as if I were going to be doing a D&D campaign, because I feel like this is the best parts of creating a character for a D&D campaign meets the best parts of a um, standard sort of reading challenge. Um, I wish that this was not just 2 months though, like out of the whole year, because I learned about myself, and I knew this going in because I mentioned that I had a list of the books that I thought I was going to go to, and I didn't think that it was going to go super great about that because I'm a very big mood reader, and I don't love even myself to tell me I have to finish something. Like the ADHD does not love. So I knew that going in, but it was definitely present. And we're 3 weeks in. We're on the 21st now. We have another week and a half. Um, and I have read a bunch of books that are not on the list, and I have also not read books that are on the list. So yay for being right about knowing oneself, right? But anyway, I got off track there. Elynis. Why was I talking about Elynis? Anyway, she is definitely becoming her own self, like in my mind, and sort of becoming a full fleshed out person as I've been going through and spending more time doing the quizzes and the preparing for different slides for like making comments on the different slides, like here, for the different challenges, etc. as we go through. So I've been having a lot of fun, and I definitely went off track and stopped in the middle of a sentence somewhere over there. Sorry about that. I do not know where I was to go back and fix it though. All right, so we've already gone through character creation, but I did finish picking out the books, so and reading most of them. Heritage. I ended up choosing Stolen Beauty because that was on my TBR for the month for a book club, and I did not love it. I finished it, so it didn't get a 1-star. And I was thinking about it before. I probably should go in and say like exactly why, like what makes something a 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, etc. read for me personally, and I'll probably end up having to do that when I do my monthly wrap up in general, because I don't have anything prepared yet. But for this one, it's just I didn't think it was particularly well written. It felt like they had a list of tropes and they just fit them in. And they weren't, it just didn't make sense. The characters did not seem particularly realized. They did not necessarily act in ways that I thought were realistic for the people or the locale, what was going on even within the book. I was just like kept saying things to my husband. I'd be like, hey, this far into the book, and let me guess, there's gonna be 3 more tropes, and there'd be this one, this, and this one in the next 100 pages or 50 pages or whatever I was going through. Or I'd say, this makes no sense. And he'd be like, what are you talking about? So this thing just happened, and this is the background on it, and it doesn't make sense. It's like, that would never happen. I'm like, I know, right? So it wasn't my fave. I will not read it again, personally. It's a mafia romance. I don't hate mafia romance. It's not my jam, as I'm not one I usually go to anyway. For the most part, unless I'm like in a specific mood. But like this one just wasn't it. So skipping on through it. I did read it. It fit into a contemporary, specifically. It's a contemporary romance, mafia romance, contemporary romance category for this book. And then next we are going to Kirador. So that would be Accomplice to the Villain, which was a 4-star read for me. I knew going in it was going to be a 4-star read, and it was indeed a 4-star read, which is great. I honestly thought earlier this year when I was, getting hyped up for this book and putting it on my list and putting the alert for when it's ready at my library, etc., so I could go put in my goodness gracious, hold. So I could put my hold in. That I was like, this is the end of the series. I can't wait to see the final. And nope, there's gonna be another one. And I thought it was gonna be a trilogy, and I was geared up for it to be a trilogy. And that was probably the only thing I didn't really love about this particular one, is that I went into it like thinking it was gonna be the wrap up. Well, I knew right before I started it, obviously, that it wasn't going to wrap up because I saw that there was going to be a 4th one, but like I was already a little bummed that this wasn't going to wrap up all the different parts and pieces. But I like that they were able to get a little bit more into detail on certain characters that they wouldn't have been able to do, or Hannah wouldn't have been able to do, if it had been the last book. So I came out of it happy, and definitely looking forward to the next one. All right, so the background, urban, was what I chose. So I ended up going in with Ghost by Jason Reynolds, which is a middle grade book about a boy who joins a running club, and that coach specifically from the running club and some of the interactions he has with different people within the club in general, but specifically the coach seems to be a not necessarily a turning point, but an adult figure that significantly helps with some some traumatic responses and things that he's dealing with in his life, and with also just general learning and life and difficult parts of life for him. I don't want to get too much into it because this would be very easy to give away a lot of things real quick, because it's a fairly short read. And it's middle grade, so it's not like it's supposed to have a lot of twists and turns and things on it. But it is definitely one that I enjoyed, but I would not read again. So it didn't get a 4 from me. But that's just because it's a middle grade book, and I typically don't find many middle grade books that I would rate a 4-star in general, because I don't connect with them as much as I would something that is with adult characters or with more complex topics generally. But I thought it was a really good representation when it comes to how kids think and things that are going on in the area that he is living in, and just he talks through his decisions really well. Like inner monologue was really well. It was like, this is what I'm doing, and this is why I'm doing it, and this is the concern I have, and I just thought that was well done. So it was almost a 4-star. Like, I went back and forth, and I was like, no, I wouldn't read it again, so I'm not gonna make it a 4-star, but it's like almost a 4-star. So I did enjoy it. All right, then we get into the Novice Path. Obviously, like I mentioned on the Gear Up section, when I was talking earlier, Gear Up is after Novice Path because that made more sense. Like, in my mind, you'd have a person, and then they'd go on the Novice Path, and then they'd get picked into a guild and get their my brain just stopped. Dagger, conduit. That's the word I was looking for. The conduit, which in this case is a dagger. But anyways, so Novice Path was next. I read Dangerous Assassin, which I gave 4 stars. It's my first Elizabeth Wheatley book. I did enjoy it. I definitely will be reading the next on the list. There were a few things where I was like, oh, okay, I wish that, I had a little bit more info on this, or I really wish there's a little more here, or I didn't like this little change or whatever. But generally, I thought it was really, really good. I'm going to read the next one. And I think some of those things where I was like, I'd like a little bit more about this or that is going to show up in the next book. Specifically more things like about the characters and how they're thinking and how their minds work a little bit more, so I can understand, because I was a little annoyed, but I was supposed to be annoyed with the main male character, Dangerous, and a couple of points. And I was like, dude, like, come on. But I was supposed to feel that, right? So I'm hoping to get more about him and how he came to be the person he is in the next book. So I won't get to it probably for a couple of months, most likely, unfortunately. But this is one I almost went like fully off track and just decided to go read the entire series all at once. All right, next step along was How to Fake It with a Fae, which I gave 3 stars. I ended up putting this book down because I was like, secondhand embarrassment. I get secondhand embarrassment. I don't know if y'all do, but like when you're reading a book or watching a movie and you're just like, I want to pull the covers up over my head because I feel so embarrassed. And I was supposed to. Like, that was the entire point, was that you're supposed to feel, or at least the main female character was embarrassed, and he stepped in, and then the whole book takes off because of that. And then I was mad, and another part, it doesn't matter. Like, it was fairly... The reason it got 3 stars instead of 4 stars for me is that I felt like it got a little formulaic towards the end, and how everything was going to sort of fix itself, and, getting over that last hump, and et cetera, et cetera. And I would have liked to have seen a little bit more, like, not standard there. I would have liked to see a little bit something that's outside of the norm. But it was fairly standard, in my opinion. You knew exactly what was going to happen, and this is going to happen. And I saw that it was cute though. I liked it. I thought that the lead up to how the two characters end up going from not necessarily enemies, but definitely not friends at all, to falling in love was well done, and that it wasn't just a we are here and then all of a sudden we're like completely all over each other and we're in love and then something horrible happens and we completely break that. It was that they weren't fully into trusting each other and being completely fallen in love when that thing happened, and then they'd come back from it. So I did like that part. And I'm trying to keep it very general. If y'all don't want these to be general, let me know. But I don't want to like keep y'all from like enjoying a book because I give too many spoilers. Anyways, next one was another one I read for a book club, and that was The Frozen River by Ariel Lawton. And I'm not usually a historical fiction lover in general. And I won't say I loved this one, but I enjoyed it. I didn't put it down. I just read it the whole way through. Um, I liked it. I wish that I had gone in knowing I listened to an audiobook and the author explained that the main character in the book was based on a real person. And I wish that had been at the beginning of the book because I think I would have enjoyed it more knowing that this was based on a real person's life than finding out at the end. It may have elevated it for me personally. But I did like it. I enjoyed that there were multiple things going on. It was like slice of life, but also mystery, but also, all these things. The characters were messy and real, which made sense at the end because they were based on real people. And I enjoyed it. I'm like I said, I'm not usually a historical fiction girly. I just don't really like it in general, but I enjoyed this one. So I gave it 3. It almost got a 4, but I'm just not really. I wouldn't read it again. I'm not really a historical fiction reader. So I did give it a 3, but it was like if I were doing half stars, which I don't usually do half stars, I typically just go, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever it is. But if I did do half stars, this one would have made it past the point where it would have gotten 3.5. So just be aware of that one. I did like it. It just not my normal read, but I enjoyed it. Theme music. Horror, definitely, but well, thriller definitely. With some horror elements in it, I still don't know for sure that there were ghosts in this book. I'm not 100%. It could be that it just her mind is broken and she's making these ghosts up in her head and they're not real. I don't know. I do not know. And so I don't know if it actually fits here. But the very end implies that they may be, but then again her brain is like her mind is fairly like broken too. So like I I honestly don't know. If you've read this, let me know what your takeaway was about whether these ghosts are real or not. I said yes for the purpose of this, but like I sat for it for a while. Like, are these real? I don't know. And I also did not read this book at night. Normally, I love reading books at night as I'm going to sleep or right before I go to bed. Not this one. Not that it was like terrifying, but that it just like gripped me and I was like creeped out, if that makes sense. Yeah. So I gave it 4 stars. I don't know that I would read it again, mostly because I don't think it would hit the same way a second time. But if it could like be read and it hit the same way, I would read it again. I did not. It was surprising because it took me so long to get through it because I kept putting it down when it would get like towards the end of the day. I'd only like read it on like lunch breaks or like in the morning if I was doing whatever, because it was an audiobook. But yeah, 4 stars. Enjoyed. And also, tell me if you think that these characters are actually seeing ghosts or not. Like, is she seeing a ghost? And if so, what does... We may have to have a conversation. Like, let me know. I have... Actually, no, I did just finish The Whispers. I finished it last night, and I must have forgotten to update it. I gave it 3 stars, if I recall correctly. Let me just double check. No, I didn't give it 3. I gave it a 2. Okay. It was right on the edge of 2 to 3 on this particular one. It was another one that was for a book club, and I believe it was supposed to go into the thrillers section, but I didn't think it was well categorized, at least not on the thrillers that I normally read, if that makes sense. This one is kind of the exact opposite of the last thrillers. It's much more just how are people behaving in this a couple of days period. I think it's like 3 or 4 days on this cul-de-sac, and how are the things that people are talking about or not talking about, or whispering to each other. Is it real? Is it fake? What is the outcome of this story? What's really happening? Um, you know, who's cheating on who? How is this kid? Is this child? What is his life really like? I just didn't think the characters were particularly likable. There's only one character that I felt bad for at the end of all of this, and I just didn't connect with the characters, which is why I ended up moving down to a 2 instead of a 3. Now that I'm thinking back about it, because I did sit on this one for a while. I was like, is it like 2 or a 3? 'Cause it's like maybe that 2.5 thing. And I ended up settling on 2 because of the fact that I didn't connect with the characters really well, and I just didn't really enjoy the story. Luckily, it wasn't a super long book, so I can still like chat in my book club about it when we have our chat. But I didn't love it in general. I did like the end though. The last like page or two. I was like, good call. That was a good play. But otherwise, there are no heroes in this story. All right. I have not yet gotten to Daughter of No Worlds. It is checked out. I just have not had time to read it yet. But that is the one I have currently planned for my 5-star prediction. I have a couple of other ones that could be subbed in. My issue is that I don't tend to have a lot of 5 stars. I have a lot of 4-star predictions, but I have gotten a lot of people talking to me saying that this book is amazing. So I'm gonna fingers crossed and say hopefully it is a 5-star, and we'll go forwards, because it's just a prediction. So even if it is not actually 5 stars and it actually sits at 4 stars, which hopefully doesn't go below that because I've heard lots of good things and I imagine that it's going to be amazing, at least I'll get a 4-star out of it, right? All right, and then I did 13 Reasons Why. This one was on my list of books that are, I have a list of books that are either ones I should have read that I never got around to when I was younger, like high school, college aged assigned reading type of stuff, and also banned books. And this was from that list of books. And I gave it 4 stars. It was barely 4 stars. It was like a 3 point, like, I don't know, what would you do, like 3.8 maybe? It was a 4-star, but it was a low 4-star. It was not what I was anticipating. I never watched on Netflix, but I did not, I guess maybe I anticipated it being a different kind of book based on the fact that it had a show on Netflix. But I went in like knowing nothing about it other than that there was a show on Netflix. And I enjoyed it. I did. I thought it really did well exploring minds and brains and not necessarily stigmatizing suicidality, but also just the people and the decisions that were made by the characters throughout. I felt that they were handled with not necessarily grace, but they were handled well and with dignity, and they didn't elevate or denigrate things that needed to just be spoken about with just starkness. And I appreciated it. So I did enjoy it. I gave it 4 stars. It's not one that I would probably read again, which usually if it's a 4-star, I would totally read it again. This one I wouldn't read again just because it just, the content of the book, it wasn't something that I would really want and put myself in a position where I'm reading it regularly, but I liked it and I would recommend it. So then we get into my guild. We're back onto the section where I said we'll come back to it because it's your conduit and your guild. So she's a mind walker. And her legacy, we did finish this one, was Psychic Plane Access, and it was a supernatural book. So I ended up choosing Silverborn, which was the next in the Mercy Thompson series that I had not yet read. So I picked up that one knowing it would be supernatural because it's shifters and vampires and fae and all of the things in this series. So I was going to get at least one, if not all of them. Gave it 4 stars. I'm enjoying this series in general. Most of them have been 4 stars for me so far, but I really do enjoy paranormal and supernatural elements to my reads in general. So keep that in mind. If you're like, I don't really like that, then maybe you would take it down to a 3 for you, but I tend to enjoy it. Then we move on to Conduit here in a second. Which I read Nettle and Bone, which was a suggestion from my husband, and it is a standalone book, so it fit for my Conduit Dagger choice. And I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. It was like a fairy tale, but not a normal fairy tale that we all get when we're younger. It's like going deeper into it. I've read, I think, 3 Kingfisher books now, and they're all kind of that same, at least the 3 that I have read so far, were kind of that fairy tale, but a little bit more darkness and a little bit more grown up. Very much enjoyed. Would read again. I was a little sad that there weren't more in this. Like, there wasn't a series for it. It was a standalone, but I think all the ones I've read for T. Kingfisher have been standalone. So maybe they're all standalones. Enjoyed. Will be reading more of their books in general, and would read this one again. All right. Calling. This is a new page since the last time we were here. She has chosen to be an illusionist rogue, which I did have on the scholars section here in a minute, but I hadn't created the page for it yet. So she is charismatic, clever, playful, insightful, and sly. And she thinks that she is not particularly sly, but she can learn. So creating this particular page, I think, helped me to understand more of who she is and who I wanted her to become, etc. And I think this was probably one of the turning points in her character creation and sort of becoming a full-fledged character in my mind. With sitting down and sort of thinking, okay, this is all the stuff about what she wants to be. She wants to be a illusionist rogue. Why does she want to be an illusionist rogue? What does that entail for her future? What types of things might she want to learn more about that aren't necessarily in her regular everyday classwork, et cetera, et cetera. So I do suggest going through and sort of making your character more full-bodied, as it were. I think it's a lot of fun, personally. But all right. Next up was the Scholar's Key. Like I mentioned, I did technically already have it on here for the calling when we talked about it last time. I still don't have a picture. I'm not an artist, so I have not created like a drawing, or I don't want to like get an AI created image because, you know, all that stuff, but that's probably the only way I'd be able to get one unless I paid to have one created, and I'm trying not to spend a lot of money at the moment. So for now, we're going to leave it blank. Maybe next semester. All right, then we get to 2025. And this is the first time I was like, oh, there's more to this even than I realized. I went ahead and sort of mapped it out where we're going to go, all that jazz. And then I went back and tried to see if there were things throughout the year that fit the prompts, Most of them were yes. I was able to figure most of them out. And then, of course, I chose the September one, which was The Alchemist. I did not love The Alchemist. I think maybe I would need to be in a specific mood to enjoy that one. I just didn't like, I think I didn't love how it was written. Um, like I said, maybe it was my mood at the time, and if I read it again, I'll like it a lot more. But it wasn't my fave this month. So that's technically the one I read for September. Then I had to go back and look and see. Okay, so I found all but two, um, which is a book from the top shelf. I don't have a ton of books on my bookshelf. I used to have like three of these, and they were double stacked, and then I had other like piles of books everywhere. But I have moved a lot. Um, and since I started moving, and this was over a decade ago, so not any times recently, when I started moving regularly, I stopped keeping books because they're just so expensive to move with. Because it's all by weight, right? And so I let those books go to libraries, to friends, etc. over the years, and I really haven't started collecting. I've been doing a lot more library books and a lot more ebooks and audiobooks and things along those lines, just because I didn't want to take them with me as I move from place to place. So I don't really have a ton of books. I do have books, but they aren't, there's not a ton. So I didn't have a lot of options to pick from. So what is the book from the top shelf? Well, technically, I don't have books on my top shelf. So I went to the first book, the first shelf that has books, because the top shelf, it doesn't have books. It is trinkets and knickknacks and things on those lines. So I ended up picking one of the Laura Olympics books because they are on that first shelf that has actual books on it. But I didn't read any of those in February. I believe I read it in March, so it was late, so I don't get any points for that one. And then I still haven't found a book where the main character is a dancer that I've read yet this year. So I'm going to have to put one in sometime before the end of the year. I won't get points for it, but at least I will have it completed for this year. Kira did much better, but I did not for Elynis because Elynis went a different route than Kira went. I specifically put them in different routes so they'd have different prompts. All right, so most of the books that I have on here were 4-star reads or at least 3-star reads. I don't want to jump into too much of them because they were not current reads, but if you have questions about any of the ones you're like, ooh, I haven't read that one, what do you think about this one? I can totally chat more about them in the future, but I don't want to spend tons and tons of time because I feel like I have just been a chatty Cathy today. All right, so then we finally get into our syllabus for 2025. There will eventually be a section for spring, and I have already created the pages for that. They're just hidden right now because I'm not going to try to do them during the same month I'm doing autumn. I will do them sometime else later this year because there's not that many, especially for Elynis, who has a fairly short list of books that has to be read in general for every semester. So, autumn equinox. I have already read the X-Hex, which fits into the autumnal setting because it's right around Halloween. Like, I think one of the last, like, a lot of things culminate on Halloween or near Halloween. So, put the autumnal setting one for X-Hex, and I gave it 3 stars. It was okay. It was cute. Good read, quick read. It wasn't something I would come back to again and again, but I enjoyed it. I have not finished Spectacular, probably mostly because I've told myself it is a absolute must finish for this month because it needs to be used on multiple of my my reading challenges. And so my brain has been like, don't read it. Don't do it. Even though I need to read it. It's on my must be read list. So I have to finish it so I can get credit for the next one as well, because you have to do them like you have throughout the September in order to count them. So I've definitely got my O, but I haven't gotten all the rest of my Q and my D because I have to finish the Spectacular, the next one. So that's for technology is what I'm going to go with the Spectacular because there are bright lights of Radio City Music Hall. which is definitely technology, on the front. And then for reflected image or mirror, there is a mirror right here on Trial of the Sun Queen. I will be reading the second one, and I am hoping it is as good as the first one. I very much enjoyed it. I thought that it was. I mean, I saw the twist coming, but it didn't see it right away. There were a couple things that were like, weird, but I didn't 100% see it until that. Anyway, doesn't matter. I enjoyed it. I thought that there were definitely things in there that left me guessing and wondering how things were going to change and work. And looking at the next one, I've heard that maybe the rest of the series isn't as good as the first one, and that makes me sad because I really, really want them to be. But you know, it's all in the I won't say eyes of the beholder, but like brain of the reader. I don't know. We all have different preferences. So here's to hoping that the rest of that series is great. I will be putting them on hold. It'll probably take me a little while to get them from the library, but I will hopefully finish them this year. Fingers crossed. And then I finished my other two classes altogether, which were shapeshifting and psionics and divination. So for shapeshifting, it needed to be a genre. So went with Seaside Library, which was a book club catch-up book. If I remember, like it's from a previous book or previous month for the year. I don't think it was this month's book, but it does have romance elements in it. It's also a mystery. It's also it has some thriller elements, but it wasn't a thriller. It was definitely much more mystery and romance combined for that blend of genres than anything else. I went with 3 stars. I read it throughout a single day, so it was pretty good, but I sort of push myself to keep reading it at least once because I was like, oh, I'd really like to switch to something that has a little bit more action and things happening and not just like this one was fairly slow moving compared to some of the other books I was reading at the same time, mood reader, and I really wanted to like jump into some of the other stuff that was more like action packed and I was like, no, you need to finish this book. It is due in 24 hours. Finish it now. So I left it to the last minute, and I think I would have enjoyed it more if I wasn't pushing myself to finish it before the due date. But that aside, I did enjoy it. I would potentially read more by Brenda Novak. I don't know that I am in a mood to read any of them right at the moment, but I wouldn't be opposed to reading any in the future. And then for my genre spin, I ended up doing the Thursday Murder Club because it was a mystery is the one I got. And it was a 3-star. I liked it. I'm looking forward to learning more about the characters and the, further on in the series. I am going to read some more of them. I'm hoping that it evolves into becoming 4-star reads because I see elements of things that would like keep bringing me back, and those one it could very easily morph into a 4-star read if I keep going back and getting in there. But there was also an interview done with the author at the very end of the book that was a lot of fun. So I guess publishers, if you are watching, maybe put some author interviews at the end of your books because they're a lot of fun. Anyway, so I liked it. I thought it was good, but I did enjoy the other murder mysteries, the ones that what was the name of them? The Everyone in My Family has killed someone, and Everyone on This Train has killed. I enjoyed those more. Those two, that Everyone on This Train has killed someone. I enjoyed more than the other in general, but like I think I liked that series better so far than I have enjoyed the Thursday Murder Club so far. So I'm only one book into this one, so I want to read one more and then see which one I like better. But I would put them sort of around similarly in my brain about like which one do I like, what do I consider it similar to. I'd say they're very similar. Readers probably would enjoy both of them. All right, and then my Guild Book Club. If I get this from the library in time, I'll do another reread on it. but I've already read it. So I've actually already read the entire series, and I really enjoyed the entire series. The first and second book I liked a lot more than the last book, just because I wish that it had gone a different route and that maybe we'd had a fourth book in the series so that we could have explored some of the stuff in it. But I really, really did like it, and it's a YA book. Naomi Novik, I enjoy Naomi Novik in general. I've read a couple of her books outside this series that I've enjoyed. So yeah, if I have time to read it again, if it comes back from the library, because it's been on hold this entire time, this entire month, I haven't even heard a peep at this point. I've got it on hold from 2 different libraries. So I'm hoping I'll read it again. But I haven't heard anything about it yet. It's not really been moving, so if I don't finish it, that is unfortunate. But I have read it. I gave it 4 stars when I read it last year. So if I read it, it's a reread, and I will enjoy it just probably as much as I did the first time, because I liked it a lot. Then we get into extra credit, which I have not put anything extra credit on here because I haven't decided who is getting which of the extra credit books. I've got a spreadsheet of like, this fits this prompt, da 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 da, as I go through, and I'm ones that are definitely going to one or the other. I'm going ahead and logging them online, but I haven't really created this. I will say that of between the 2 characters, there will be at least 10 extra credit books. Fingers crossed. Based on my current reading schedule and how it's going and what fits into prompts, etc. But we will see. Okay, adventure board time. There have been 3 adventures so far. I have yet to find a book, and I need a book actually with an art or craft item on the cover for a whole different challenge that I have yet to find one that I want. And I ended up deciding for that other challenge, the option was, or you can craft, instead of getting one with it on the cover, and that was the way I was going to go. And yeah, I still haven't found an art or craft item on the cover. I think I may have a couple options, but none of the books that I put on hold that would fit into this prompt have come available yet. So I don't know if I actually get these 10 points because I didn't do them before the next one came up, but I didn't put it on here. I don't know. Let me know what you think. But if I get it done, it'll at least be done in September, so maybe that will count. I don't know. So I may or may not get these 10 points. I'm going to ask around on the chat boards, but I did, however, do the Tooth Bunny one. The Tooth Bunny was a bunny or a smile on the cover, and for both of my characters, I ended up choosing a smile because I didn't have any interest or any books that were coming due that had bunnies on them, and I was a little overwhelmed with the number of books that I had on my TBR. So I picked one that I was using for another challenge, which was a Not So Meet Cute. Gave it 4 stars. It was good. I very much enjoyed it. I think that I was just in the mood for a romance, and I was having fun with it. So it ended up being a 4-star rather than 3 because probably mostly because of my mood at the time. But it deserved the 4 stars. I think it was really good. I liked it. And then we got to key retrieval. So, let's put this one out there. I read The Key of Light because I needed a book with a key on the cover, right? And I finished it, and then I was like, I could not find anything that had a hamster and a key. And you had to have a hamster for that extra 10 points. But I have since found a book that does give me that extra 10 points. So, if I have time, I will read that book and pop it on here instead of Key of Light. But at least it is taken care of in case I do not find the time to read a book with the hamster and a key on the cover that I found. Kira, the other character, does already have a book with a hamster and a key, but I hadn't found a second one yet. And now I have. But I don't know, I've got other priorities, so if I get to it, I get to it. If not, then I'll at least get 10 points, and if not, the full 20. So items, the only thing, the Pet Patch Pack, which was on a live stream. One of the instead of getting points, we got the Pet Patch Pack, which is a lot of alliteration. Pet Patch Pack. Lots of poppy peas. I don't yet, I mean, I assume that I will have a pet by the end of this, because we're all, all the pets we're rescuing are coming, and we will probably get to pick a pet at the end, but I don't have a use for it until the end of semester. So I do have it, just like I also have guild points that I have yet to utilize. So right now I have 280. Almost all of those points, 155 of them, came from last night's all-night live stream. And oh boy, I think there were 12 opportunities for points throughout the evening, or throughout the day. It was 10 hours long. So you just, go off and do a sprints. Not all of my stuff was done sprints. I would take a break and go do other things. Like I wasn't reading the entire 10 hours, but I did get through several books. I don't think I'm going to count that as my 24-hour readathon for Herkyed. I thought about it, and I may change my mind, and I've notated like that those books were during that 24-hour period. That way I can go back and do so if I get towards the end of the year and I still haven't found time to do a 24-hour readathon. I may go back and do that just because there was a lot of sprints, and I got through like 3 or 4 books yesterday. But I kind of want to do its own readathon and not like a part of another readathon to do, because it's already the readathon challenge, and then to do another 24-hour, it feels like doubling up it additionally. I don't know, it feels weird. Maybe I will. I don't know. For key retrieval, that's technically still going on. Like I said, I haven't put it down here. I've already earned 30 points for this one, just because I got the 10 points for the key for Key of Light, and then I got the 20 points for the other one for Kira, that is Camstar and Key, even though it was a very short book and it was a comic, but it still counted. It was like 140 pages, something like that. So we'll talk about that when I talk about Kira, but yeah. 280 points. I should have plenty of points to get all of the scrolls that I need in order to do previous semesters that I want to. Now, for the bank, I'm keeping the bank the same for both of the characters. I have a shared bank account. That was the suggestion about how to handle having multiple characters. So I took that suggestion, at least for now. We will see how it goes. But it makes sense because you're doing live streams as a person, not necessarily as a character if you have 2 characters, so you don't get the double points. So this way you don't double those points you're getting during the live streams. So, but it does look weird because you're doing your adventure boards and your semesters and things, and you're like getting 100 points instead of 50 because you're doing 2 different sets of people, so 2 different sets of prompts. But yeah, we'll figure that out as we go through. But for now, that is for everything currently you're caught up on all things Elynis. There's only a few books that still need to be done for her to get her completely caught up, except for previous semesters, but like to get her caught up for this semester and all of her creation, etc. So I am looking forward to finishing this up, because I feel like this has definitely been a sprint to get as many books done this month as I did, knowing full well, and I put myself in this position, that I had a lot to do in September. It's the beginning of Oktoberfest on top of that, and I've got festivals, and then it's about to be competition season for chorus, and also things going on in my job, but I walked into it with open eyes, and I just made decisions that maybe next year I won't make the same, and I will just do a single semester instead of a semester plus 2 mini challenges plus everything else for 2 characters. But we'll see how it goes. Next year should be easier because there'll only be, maybe 10 books between the 2 characters, all things considered, and that's nothing, at least not for the amount of books that I'm reading on the regulars for right now. But right now I feel a little overwhelmed because I'm at like 20-something books just for this one, not talking about any of the other books I absolutely had to read because I was in book clubs or whatever, plus all of the just what my heart desires. Like I read through, well, I read 2 books out of a trilogy and 1 book out of a duology that weren't even kind of on my list of maybe I should read them already for this month. Just because I just felt like it and I did it, and I was like, that was probably not the wisest choice, but I had a good time and it was fun. Oh, my brain. Anyways, I will let you guys go and get over to recording the Kira section, introduce you to the fabulous Kira, and I'll chat with you guys later. Bye.